TJ Hall. I'm running for council at large.
Hi, I'm Joel Althauser, and I'm the candidate for council president.
I'm Mary Burkett, and I'm running for City Council Ward 1.
Did Anda leave the Zoom? I believe she was having problems with her sound. Okay, so we want to thank all of you, all the candidates, for being a part of this event tonight, this candidates get to know the candidate event tonight. And we did invite all the candidates who are running, and we really appreciate you all for saying yes. And we thank you so much for being a part of this tonight. Now for the candidates, if you would like for me to repeat a question, please just ask. Also, do not feel that you have to use the entire minute to answer or to reply. Give each speaker an opportunity to be heard and remain respectful. And to our audience, please give each speaker an opportunity to be heard. Please be respectful and hold any applause or any cheers, anything until the end of the evening. We will start with our school board candidates. Okay, there'll be, is Albert Samuel here? I didn't hear that name. Or Samuel Albert, I'm sorry. What about Doug Cameron? Those persons here?
He'll be a little late.
Okay, we'll come back to the school board. Start with our city council. Okay, question for city council. What are your top 2 items that you want to address as a member of city council? What are your top 2 items that you want to address as a member of city council? We'll go in the order again. We'll start with David Beazley.
That's an interesting question. Thank you. We have several concerns. I am chairman of finance currently, and obviously we're trying to allocate our funds as best we can. Currently, our safety forces are looking for additional equipment and updates for their personal safety. So I would put that high on my list. And we are currently in the midst of a project, you may have heard it called the Downtown Project or something of that nature, but we're working on improving the water and sewer infrastructure, beginning in the area where it's the oldest and then continuing to work out from there. So I would consider those my top 2 priorities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm next, and Dave always gets to go first and take the good answers. Again, downtown revitalization is a big part of what we're doing right now. So infrastructure updates, making sure that those things are completed and successful and go off without a hitch, of course, number 1. Some of the stuff that I'd like to carry on, I'm also nuisance chairman and safety chairman. We would like to continue the improvements with the nuisance committee this year. And safety, last year we did a project in the 4th ward that was lights. This year we're going to start the 3rd ward and get more lights in that ward.
Okay, and I'm Peg Wren. Number 1 for me would be the downtown revitalization, that would continue with revamping our infrastructure and things. That has been on my list practically from the 2nd year that I've been on city council, which I've been on for a little while. The second thing would be to the nuisances, to clean up the city and stuff, for that to continue on. The committee's done a real good job this year with revamping some of those issues. Those are the two things that I think that are at the top of my list.
Okay. Trying to find
BJ, I
it.
think it's your turn.
Mr. Althouse, if you will go ahead and go, and we'll.
Sure. The biggest thing we face in Kenton, it seems like with anything we undertake, is we're just not a very wealthy community. And there's a lot of ways to look at that. And one of the biggest things is trying to figure out how to work smarter with less.
Mhm.
So that is a priority that I have all the time. And I think the second thing is, it's a priority of mine the next term, just to be more positive about some of the things we have in Kenton that are very good,
Mhm.
and try to do a better job of highlighting those and promoting those, as opposed to getting stuck with just the negatives. We need to do both equally well.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. And Mr. Hall?
Yes, ma'am. I think one of the things that I'm concerned about is making sure that our fire department, our police department, and our BKP unit with the Kenton Fire Department, we see that they get what they need. And also, we have some problems with out here where I'm at. We have some problems with the crossing situation here. We've had 3 senior citizens hit by cars at our intersection here in the last couple of years. We need some improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Did we hear from Mary already?
Sorry, trying to figure this out. I had to unmute myself.
No problem.
My biggest thing would be, I'm new to city council, though this would be my first year as running for any office. So, but downtown, updating downtown, bringing new businesses, small businesses to the downtown area. And I am concerned with safety with some of the sidewalks and lack of street lights and things like that. So I would say that's 2 of my biggest things. So we've got a few safety things, and definitely looking at downtown and new businesses coming in, and more activities going on for our folks around. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is, what do you see as the greatest strengths in Kenton, Hardin County, and how can you build on those?
We're
Mr.
going to go the
Beazley?
same order.
Yes, please.
It's unfair to the rest of them, but that's okay.
Okay,
Our
I'll
biggest
switch it up later.
strength is, quite frankly, our people, whether they be inside our city, the staff that we have working in our departments, doing the work day to day in our streets, our administration teaming together. That as far and away is our biggest strength. But we also have wonderful volunteers in our community who have taken on specific projects on their own to help better the city. And that's appreciated and needed. And we will ask them to continue to partner with us hand in hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Davis?
Yes, you're right, Dave. It's just unfair because you say what we're all going to say. Yeah, volunteers. When we have a good feel in our city, the people that are wanting to do stuff come out and help us do things. Take on the flower pots, just making the city look cleaner and nicer. And when the city looks happy, people are happier, we get more accomplished. I know that sounds a little crazy, but when people are excited about being downtown and the events we have going downtown, the changes there, it really brings us together as a community.
Okay.
And as Antwilla said, it is unfair because that is, our volunteers do an amazing job. Just remember back about 20 years ago what the downtown windows looked like. And it was a group of volunteers that turned that whole thing completely around. And now it's beautiful. We have people at Christmas time with the Christmas Winter Wonderland that come in from out of town that look at these windows. And also, I will say the people that live here are fabulous. We have a great bond with people. When there is a need, that need usually gets met by our citizens. And that we are very grateful for. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hall? Okay. Mr. Adhauser, said that right? Joel?
It's, yes, Althouse, just Joel.
Althauser, thank you.
Althauser. It's kind of a little bit of a spin on the people. I guess more specifically, I think one of our strongest suits, not just in Kenton, but countywide, are our schools. But in Kenton, one of the things that I appreciate is how we, I think we do a good job of working with our students to help them to see this is a good community. And what I see over time are students that end up as adults leaving here, they end up back here. And I think part of that is a testament to the schools. We have a lot of good things going on in our schools. So how I would build on that, our Lynn Webb, our mayor, has done a great job of reaching out to the schools. And I believe we need to do that even more. Just be aware of what's happening in the schools, and to be aware of what young people we have, what inventory of young people we have, to try to have them take on leadership positions down the road.
Mr. Hall?
Ma'am, I appreciate the ladies that have been taking care of the downtown, decorating every season. It looks so nice, and we've got so many volunteers that aren't really noticed very often that are helping senior citizens with groceries and everything else. I appreciate what they're doing. We've got a good town here. People are working together better than what they used to be, so I'm very proud of that.
Miss Burkett, did I say that correctly? Burkett?
It's Burkett, yeah.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say, like I said, I am new, but I have lived here for 40 plus years, and the sense of community, I've owned my house for 20 years. I live in Ward 1. I've had the same neighbors for 20 plus years. It's just, this is home. This is home to me. This is family. We have a great sense of community. I'm really looking forward to being part of Ward 1 and being a council member. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Very funny.
Did we get everybody? All right. How do you plan to get buy-in from and participation of the community to support and possibly fund infrastructure's improvements? And this time we're going to start different. This time we're going to go with Ms. Davis.
By buy-in, I suppose, really, I think the community's already bought in. I think as a whole, they're excited for the journey that we're on. You know, our income comes off of, it comes off of taxes. It comes off of your income. So right now, with the jobs that are available in town, and I know people say that there aren't many, but there are. GPI is hiring, Precision is hiring. With the amount of people we have working, I think they've already bought in, though, to our infrastructure plan. I think the town is excited to see where we're going. As far as those things go, I think we have community support.
Okay. Mr. Hall? Mr. Hall? Ms. Burkett, please.
Yes, I'm back with you.
Okay.
I think that the income tax thing that we've got going right now, we've got a lot of jobs that are out there, and people are working now, and I think it's going to make an improvement in a lot of things. It's going to help the city come up with finances that they need, and that's going to be the real improvement if we can keep our city going.
Ms. Burkett?
I am sorry, but I got a phone call during that question. Would you be able to repeat the question?
Most definitely, most definitely. How do you plan to get buy-in from and participation of the community to support and possibly fund the infrastructure's improvements?
Oh. Well, I heard everyone talking about a lot of places are hiring around here. We definitely have work in Hardin County. So I am part of that workforce. I live and work in Hardin County, and there's a lot of work around here. I'm not quite sure why there's not enough people, it seems like, to fill some of these positions. So we're extremely short-staffed at most places, and currently where I work. So I would just say that's about all I would say about it. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Wren?
From the beginning, when we started talking about downtown revitalization, we had public meetings, we communicated with the public on what our findings were and just exactly how old and worn our infrastructures were. You know, most of the people that live in the city knew when a water break happened and stuff like that. So I think the fact that everything has been laid out and has been open, we have been open to what the findings were, that the constituents have bought into this. They know that we are at the point where we have to replace these infrastructures, and the administration is doing a fantastic job of finding different ways to pay for that, to get grants for that. So I think that I'm like Antwilla. I think they have bought into it. They know it's something that we have to do. And we have to do this to get for economic development, to bring factories, restaurants, other things into town.
Mr. Beazley?
Thank you, ma'am. I would agree with what has been said, but I will restate it this way. Communication and transparency are always going to be key in any successful endeavor where you're attempting to bring people and persons together for a common good or a common cause. The more we are able to effectively communicate, share the information we have, put it into people's hands in a variety of ways. We have utilized any number of ways to share this information, particularly with the downtown. But that communication and transparency is key to any collaborative effort anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. I keep getting your name wrong. I know I'm going to say it wrong, but I'm going to do my best. Althauser. Make it. Okay.
That's right. Then just to piggyback off of Dave's response a little bit, the key word that I like there is transparency. And to go further, with infrastructure, and actually with a lot of projects that we may tackle in a city, it's continued education. We have to try to teach and educate and explain and be transparent about everything we're doing whenever we have the chance to do it. The sources of information, and I'll go further to say poor information that our public have access to, social media, the things that I read that folks think are gospel truth, here locally even, amaze me. So to get buy-in to these kind of projects, we have to continually, outside of just council meetings, when we see folks, be able to explain what we're doing, be able to speak intelligently about it, and understand the facts behind it. And that's all we can do. And we go from there. So that's my answer.
Okay. All right. Okay. Are race relations getting better, worse, or remaining consistent in Hardin County? And is this an important issue for you to address? And this time we'll start with Ms. Wren.
That's always a very important issue. Myself, I have never looked at people being different in any way, shape, or form, period. I love all people. I think it's getting better. I never have been personally in front of a race issue.
Okay. Mr. Hall.
Yes, we have some families that still hold grudges, but you know, in general, I think in our town we have learned to accept each other. We've learned to love each other because God created us as brothers and sisters. He didn't create us different. He made us to be one family, and I think that means a lot.
Okay. Mr. Althauser.
It's absolutely important, and it's beyond just race. It's also lifestyle. We tend to be insulated sometimes, and I think that can sneak up on us. We have to always be aware of what our actions, what our statements, and how we go about our lives can be misinterpreted, or we misinterpret what we're doing. And I think beyond that, it's also, we have to be aware of how we fit in to some of the things that are going on in larger, more urban areas, and how what is happening there can impact things here and vice versa. I don't have a formula for that. I know that we do need to be very conscious of that here. It's no different than any place else, that in the end, respectful comprehension and understanding of what everyone else might be going through and might take in a manner that is different than what you do, and just being self-aware.
Okay. Mr. Beazley.
I think Hardin County Talks as an organization speaks to the fact that things have shown some level of improvement. Are there pockets where it has not changed or has maybe even digressed? Perhaps, the more we talk and work with one another, the better things will be. Again, for the same reasons we mentioned on the last question: communication, transparency, sharing of facts is useful in every type of relationship, including race, gender, lifestyle, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burkett?
I would say it's getting better. I've never really had an issue in Hardin County or Kenton, Ohio with any of that. I do think communication and being aware is extremely important. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Davis?
Diversity and inclusion are always sensitive topics. And I think our community to say has never had a problem or they didn't see the problem. We're now saying that we're seeing that there were problems and that we're trying to have more inclusion and that diversity means something to us. And that right there is how we're growing. It may take us a little while, but as I see children growing up now, and I have a 13 and 9-year-old, and diversity and inclusion to them are much different than it was when I was in high school or when I was younger, and of course to some of the older people. So the community is growing, the young are teaching the older, and I think that we're seeing great things in Kenton with the different groups and with the different people that are coming into leadership to teach.
Thank you. Thank you. And to piggyback on that question, some of you alluded to it already, with the growing population of transgender persons within the Hardin County community, what would you do, what will you do to help those of the LGBTQ population feel more included in Kenton? And let's start with, trying to mix it up here. Let's start with Ms. Wren. You're on mute.
I didn't touch anything. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. No matter what somebody's lifestyle is, I was taught from an early age that Jesus taught us to love one another, period. You love the person no matter what. I personally would include them in whatever. These are tough subjects to talk about, but you know, somebody's choice of their lifestyle are their choices. They make their own choices. It's not for us to judge them.
Thank you. Mr. Beazley.
Thank you. This question concerns me a great deal, only because I have been pondering why it is we spend so much time accentuating our differences, be they race, be they lifestyle, be they whatever, when there are so many things that we have in common. Those are the things that we should grasp and work together in and celebrate those things that we have in common that we can work together on. There are going to be unique aspects to every individual. Those too can be celebrated. But when we come together, let's work on the things that we do well together. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Althauser.
I would just echo that the biggest thing is, number one, we need to be inclusive. We appreciate everyone in our community. And I can't say that I would have a specific thing that I would do to try to reach out to be more specifically inclusive of any group or affiliation. I want everyone who lives here to feel at home, to be comfortable here. And the biggest thing I would say is I would respond very specifically and deliberately if things are happening that make someone not feel that way. So I think that's the biggest issue I have.
Thank you. Ms. Davis.
Again, inclusion. I mean, in the world that we live in, it would be so boring if every bouquet was the same flower of the same color. And they're really beautiful when it's multiple flowers, multiple colors. And I think Kenton is growing. Again, we're 20, I love to say we're 20 minutes from everywhere. If you take a drive, you can get to any big city in about 20 to 30 minutes. So people are coming here to live because we have affordable housing. As our world opens up here in Kenton and people are including all of these different lifestyles and races and genders, and we're growing as a city. And I think everybody here is really happy to include anybody who wants to be a part of the Kenton community.
Mr. Hall.
Yes, ma'am. This is a very touchy subject with me because I have family members that are gay, but the whole thing about it, we still have a problem here in town with some people. A couple of years ago, I did a funeral here in town for a young man that was gay, and I was turned out of my church, my old home church, because of it. Let me tell you something. God created everybody together. He didn't make a difference, and he did not make no mistakes. So that's the way I feel.
Thank you. And Ms. Burkett, sorry. Ms. Burkett?
Oh, yes, sorry. I was getting off mute. I mean, this is a hard question. I mean, it's a big deal. We're definitely growing and as a community, and I agree with what everyone has said with, include and appreciate everyone in our community, accepting everyone for, if you're a little different for whatever reason, whether it's lifestyle or anything else. I personally haven't seen a lot of issues in Hardin County. So I feel as if we are growing, times are changing. People's views and perceptions have changed, and it's getting a lot better than it was 20 years ago. So I feel as if you can openly live how you choose to live a lot better in Hardin County than you certainly could have 20, 25 years ago. So we have certainly grown and we're on our way. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, another hard question maybe. What do you believe is the best way to handle the coronavirus epidemic in Hardin County and Kenton schools? Oh, should be calling names, shouldn't I? Mr. Beazley.
Thanks for letting me go first on that one. Honestly, I don't know that there is a single answer to this. There is the question of community safety paired against personal liberty, and it's being played out in many scenarios across our country and quite frankly across the world. I think people are by and large doing a good job already of being considerate of others. again, we have pockets of persons that will always go against the status quo. And I don't know that reacting or overreacting to them necessarily makes things better. I think generally speaking, our people, as we mentioned more than once, are good people that want what's best, not only for themselves, but for our community. And I think we've done a pretty good job of respecting that from each other.
Ms. Davis?
Piggybacking off Dave, I think as long as we allow things to evolve, as new guidelines come out, I am not a doctor. Let's just say that right now. So as new guidelines come out, how we can best protect the people and their civil liberties and their health, we'll just have to be able to keep fluid and make changes on the fly. And sometimes you just make the best decisions you can with what you've been given.
Mr. Althauser? You're muted. Mr. Althauser?
You weren't coming through at all.
Oh, okay. I
So
apologize.
sorry about that. I'm not going to get into the larger scope. I'm going to say on the national world level. I'm just going to say that locally, we have to use common sense. We need to respect others' opinions either direction, any direction, and understand that what may seem like a small thing to one person may seem like a major undertaking for someone else. I believe so far Hardin County's done a decent job. I think that there are aspects of this that are being overplayed and aspects of it that are being underplayed on a local level. We've tried to handle council meetings with respect and with common sense, and we'll continue to do that.
Okay. Ms. Burkett, apologize.
I will also say, I'm not a doctor and I just go by, the guidelines. I think Hardin County has done a great job. The social distancing, the wearing of the mask, whether you choose to or you don't. I personally work in the public every day and I am behind a bit of a screen. And I just really feel that Hardin County has done a good job. I know the numbers have been crazy lately. We've had our highs and lows. It's everywhere. It's nothing. And just respecting other people's opinions, what I might think's a big deal, or other people do not. They're not as nervous or afraid of the coronavirus as other people are. So everyone has their own opinion. So respecting that. But I do believe in a lot of the social distancing and the mask that some of the mandates earlier on has helped. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hall?
I look at this situation and we still have people in the community or anywhere that are going to do what they want to do. You're not going to make them do anything. But I have talked to people that have been sick already with the disease, with COVID. And they look at me and they say, we wish we'd have went and got the vaccination a long time back. I said, yeah, but are you going to do it now? Yes, we're going to get the vaccination now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wren?
I'm going to piggyback basically on what everybody has said. I've always been one that tried to follow the rules. And as Antwilla said, I'm no doctor. I'm no expert when it comes into this field. So I listen to what they say because they are the people that know or are perceived to know what they are talking about. I would just say, we just need to respect and protect each other. And I've been one of those people that I've been out and I have got called all kinds of names for wearing a mask and trying to stay back from people when this first started. So locally, I think, as everybody said, I think we've done a pretty decent job. You've only run into a few people that don't want to comply and just use common sense. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. I have one last question. Do you believe homelessness is a problem in Kenton and Hardin County? And what will you do to address the problem? And let's start this time with Mr. Althauser.
I believe it's a problem. I know New Hope is one example. New Hope Ministries has worked on that issue quite a bit, and we're very fortunate that they are here and doing that. What I would do would be to try to work with, for example, ministries such as that, and public-private partnerships to try to address the issue of homelessness. And homelessness can come in a lot of forms. Homelessness can maybe not be recognizable all the time, and especially with children moving from one home to another. So we need to be conscious of the many aspects of homelessness and what we can do. Again, I hate to say it this way, but it's not high on our priority list because it's not something that has been brought to our attention in a significant manner. So we have not had a major response to that, but it is something that we need to be aware of. And I think we're going to see more of it in the near term with prices, with the situation that's been a result of coronavirus and other things that have had economic impacts. So it's definitely something we have to watch for.
Thank you. Mr. Beazley.
Thank you. I do believe that we do have a homelessness issue within this community, the city and the county. Having said that, I don't believe that government is always the first option to solve that. As Joel has mentioned, there are already ministries that I am aware of in this community, many of them faith-based, and you as a pastor would know as well as anyone what the Bible tells us on this issue, that we are to love one another, that we are to give of ourselves. It doesn't say we're to give our money to the government for them to distribute it. It says we're to give it and spend it to help those in need. So this is a personal and private issue, whether it be in collaboration with your congregation or on your own accord. But I don't necessarily believe that it's government first to address this situation. Do we want to make it easy for the solutions to occur? Absolutely. Do we want to offer whatever resources we have available? Certainly. But I don't believe it's our first responsibility as government to address that. Thank you.
Mrs. Burkett.
I would have to say pretty much what both have said about, New Hope and working with ministries, the other ministries to possibly address this issue. There is a bit of an issue in Hardin County, I can see, in Kenton in particular. So I would just need really more information on the how in depth that it is to really give a good comment on this. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hall?
If you all remember, a few years ago, we had a gentleman living under the bridge. Things have gotten better, but we still have a few people that are still living in their cars. I know there's not a lot we can do, but usually if I hear about it, I try to get the ministries to check into it and make sure they look after them. But we still have a few, but not that many. We're doing much better here in Hardin County.
Ms. Wren?
I see the homelessness as people sleeping in their cars because they don't have a place to sleep. They go to their job during the day or whatever, if they have one, but they sleep in their cars at night. What I have done is if I run across people like that, I direct them to like Love Inc., to the New Hope Ministry Parks, the agencies that I know that will help them to try to get them into a home. As far as the government, I'm not sure what the city government should do or could do or even get involved to do, but I just think that we need to help the entities that are here that help those people to stay here and to grow and to help fund them a little bit, not necessarily on the government side, but maybe personally or with some of the entities that raise money for those different kind of things that could be funneled, money could be funneled to them so that they could help people. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Davis?
It got really dark as I was sitting in this parking lot. No, homelessness is an issue everywhere. And like Joel said, homelessness is in different forms. And, you know, like Dave said, I don't know if government's the right place. We can give people resources. Of course, there is a mental health facility here to help with those issues. There are the ministries here to help with housing. I think it is it's best suited for the local government to make people aware of these places they could go, give them some tips on how to get into some of the different trainings or facilities or into a doctor. But again, I kind of agree with Dave. This is something that is a larger problem that would be too much for us to undertake.
Okay. Do we have anyone from the school board here yet? No? Okay. Okay. So I'm actually going to ask all of the candidates for city council to answer the following questions and how you would help the school board address these. I'm going to ask you. Okay. First question, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here. Kenton City Schools ranks 487 out of 924 school districts, bottom 50%, and on the 2021-2022 Ohio School District Report Card. What would you do to improve academic performance in our ranking in Kenton? And let's start this question with, let's go in alphabetical order this time. Mr. Althauser.
I guess one of the questions, maybe I didn't quite hear you correctly. Can you give the statistics again?
Statistics are 487 out of 924 school districts, which is at the bottom 50%.
Well, it's just into the bottom 50%.
Okay.
It's just into it. That was what I was questioning.
Okay.
I guess I'm going to be practical. How high do you want us to be? Unfortunately, the way we fund schools in this state, you're not going to be in the top 10% because of the way we fund schools. Just had this conversation today. I mean, even though there's quite a bit more funding that takes place or that comes out of income taxes, it's still property tax is still a very prevalent funding mechanism in public schools. A more affluent school district is going to have significantly more money. And we see that all the time, over and over again. And income taxes really don't completely solve it either. So one of the things that I would encourage, and the schools deal with the same thing, probably even in more extent than we do in the city. I mean, they're overall, their number one expense are people. So the cost of trying to maintain all of those people is significant. I would encourage the schools to try to encourage and retain local folks to come back here and teach, because they'll be more passionate and they will want to be much more engaged in the education of other local students. But I don't know how much, I don't know to what level we think we can attain that, given the economic situation here in Hardin County.
Thank you. Mr. Beazley?
Thank you, ma'am. I think one of the biggest issues that can contribute, Joel mentioned funding and resources. He's 100% correct. We have a unique opportunity on this particular ballot to help address that. The state has said, we will give you a large sum of money to help you build a new facility, a state-of-the-art facility, a facility that encourages learning as we understand it today. The unfortunate thing is that it requires the electorate to say, yes, I want to spend more of my hard-earned money to help our students. As a government, as a city council, we can only encourage that, because better schools make a better community. It's proven scientifically over and over and over. We can encourage that. We can vote for it ourselves. But the people actually have to embrace it and say, we want better and we're willing to pay for better. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wren?
Again, to reiterate some of the things that the other two have said, Kenton has a lot of people that are on fixed incomes. And as Joe alluded to, you know, funding has a lot to do with the instances of in the schools. You know, and as Dave said, my top thing I was going to say is about building the new school. When businesses, developers, whatever come into a community, they look at schools, they look at infrastructure, they look at what is around for people to do. The new school, building a new school is very important at this point for our community to become more attractive for developers. And it all will kind of work together. So personally, what I would do as a city government to help, I don't know how we could help raise that number up to where they would be in the top 50% instead of the bottom 50%, just in the bottom 50%, other than you know, supporting our schools, such as building the new school, and as Joel said, encourage them to encourage local people to come back, because I think when a person comes back to their community to work, they have the compassion, the passion to make it succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hall?
As Ms. Peg said, we have a lot of low-income families that can't that don't have the money to do everything that their children need at school. That's why I'm encouraging everybody to please go out and vote for the tax levy for the schools, because we need it. We have a lot of good teachers, but we need the help to keep the schools going. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Davis?
Well, I'm going to look at this. Of course, what everybody said was brilliant. Vote yes for the new schools. Give them better facilities to learn in. But we're basically at the 50% mark. And if you take away those really affluent communities, and if you take into account that our kids were learning from computers last year, some of them whose internet connection didn't work or was shoddy, because we live in a very rural area, don't always have great broadband, working on that state level wise, those kids did great. To be at that level, they did great. With the new facilities that hopefully we pass, with the encouragement that's coming around this town to keep our kids here, the trade school option to go to, I think that we're looking at this the wrong way. I think our kids did a great job last year with what they were handed and given.
Thank you. Ms. Brickett? Ms. Brickett? Burkett? Is she still here? I don't think she's still here. Okay. All right, so we're gonna now take, do we have any questions from our audience? I do have one that I have here. And if we have others, can we please get those ready? So a question from an audience member from Miss Terry Holloway. Her question is, as soon as I find it. Her question is, Kenton City Schools does not employ any people of color. However, there is a diverse student population, Asian, Mexican, Black, and biracial. What will you do to help the school board members address this issue and hire role models that all students can relate to?
Can I start that one?
Sure.
Okay, I'll start with that one. And I wish I could answer her question in a better way. Unfortunately, we're all on city council. We're not on the school board.
Right.
We're not running for school board, and they get to make the hiring decisions. Now, if you look at your current school board, Mr. Albert is of color. So I know that issue is near and dear to his heart. Sheena Stryker is also on your school board, and she is disabled. She's brilliant and beautiful and wonderful. So she is also working on inclusion. We do have a new superintendent this year. So I think if we give him a little bit of time, since he just took over, you'll see a change to fit the community better. And I think we just need to give the new school board and the superintendent some time to move in that direction.
Mr. Hall.
Miss Holloway, I've known her for a long time. I would love to see us have teachers of different races, different colors, teaching in our schools, because we do have different families. We have Mexican families, we have Black families, we have Indians. I think we need to, if there was a possibility that we could hire teachers that way, it would be an improvement in our Kenton City School District. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Wren? I think she's frozen. Okay, Mr. Beazley?
I'm going to go back to your previous question, Deborah.
Okay.
And it asked me about the results of our school. I think the results of our schools are directly tied into the quality of our teaching. So, having said that, I think we ought to hire the very best candidates, regardless of whether they are Black, white, male, female, whatever descriptor we want to add to that. I think we need the very best educators teaching our kids. If they happen to be persons of color or disability or whatever other label we want to place on them, that's fine. But they need to be the best. That's what we need to make our schools better. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wren?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
I couldn't hear you. Yes.
Okay. I really didn't know how to answer this question at first, but I'm going to. I just heard a little bit of what Dave said. I agree with what he said. You hire whoever is the better candidate, regardless of.
You're fading out. We can't hear you.
Okay, I don't know what's going on here with my computer. You hire the better candidate, whoever, regardless of whether they're Black, white, male, female. If they're qualified, they get hired. That will make a better transition for the community.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Althauser?
Maybe not direct correlation or directly related, but I think I can get there. I felt the one thing that I wish we would do in our schools, and I mentioned this in my prior answer, would be much more aggressive and much more deliberate about recognizing students that have an acumen and have the desire to teach, and attracting them and getting them to come back here and teach. So let's take that a step further. Let's try to recognize local students in our schools that are thinking about teaching, that are of color or that are of another ethnicity or ethnic background. And again, encourage them, attract them, convince them to come back here and teach. I think that is a way to make our school stronger. We want to me, some of the highest paid people, especially in a smaller community, ought to be elementary school teachers. Unfortunately, they're not. And that is a mindset that I think even supersedes race and ethnicity. It's just that we have a mindset that we don't value teachers to the level that we value a lot of other positions, let's put it that way. On the other hand, tenured teachers are some of the more higher paid people in our community. And I think that is a testament not to them negatively, but to our community, and that it's not a very wealthy community. So let's kind of work on that inside out and try to convince local students who are looking at education to teach here. Be aggressive about it. Have a bounty that we can get them to come back here. Encourage them fiscally, encourage them in any means possible, those that are talented, and we want them teaching our kids.
Thank you. We have two audience questions. The first one is from Reverend Cummings, former pastor of Payne Chapel. Her question is, and this piggybacks on the coronavirus question, what is the council and school board, what are you planning to do to reduce the spread of AIDS in the community and keep everyone safe? And we'll start with Mr. Altizer.
Please repeat the spread of AIDS. You mentioned coronavirus, but then you said the spread of AIDS.
I meant coronavirus. Please forgive me.
Okay.
I don't know what I saw,
Okay.
but coronavirus.
I was totally unprepared to answer that one. I'm simply going to, there's so much about this virus that we do not know. And there are so many other things at work here that I'm not qualified to answer and that I will not attempt to answer. What I will continue to do though, is to follow the regulation and the rule of law. So we're going to follow mandates that exist. We will continually try to reach out and communicate to health department, but also to those areas that have special need. For example, nursing homes, which our administration did a very good job of, to point out issues that were going on and to try to figure out ways to help them. We have to recognize that there are an awful lot of opinions of the people that live in Kenton, and we represent them all. So we're going to follow the science that's out there and the science that is provided to us, but it's not up to me to try to be a scientist. And in fact, it's especially not up to me to research. It's for me to follow the research that's presented and to do that with common sense. And that's what I'll continue to do.
Mr. Beazley?
Ma'am, I apologize, Ms. Cummings arrived late, but I think this question has already been asked and answered.
Okay. Okay. All right. Does anyone else have a comment about it? Okay. Another question from audience member, Sarah Shop. I can't say her last name now. Right. Okay. Her question is, everyone has said they believe that the community has improved with inclusion of all groups, but what has our council government done to protect inclusion? There have been many opportunities over the past few years for a small gesture, fly a flag, join one of the discussions for Hardin County Talks, a small purple light on a day like today, where it is small gesture, where it is a small gesture, but means a lot to the community members if it affects. How can we get the government, council more involved with things, for example, like World Autism Day, National Coming Out Day, Indigenous People Day, Black History Month, Domestic Violence Awareness, and etc. If I need to repeat it, I can.
I will be happy to field that first, ma'am.
Right ahead.
Mr. Althauser has already mentioned that we represent the entire community. For us to take a side or a position that states we believe one way or another, I think is not our position. If we as individuals choose to do so, I think that's all well and good. But I don't think it's the position of the government to force a celebration of a diversity. As I mentioned in an earlier answer, I think we ought to celebrate our similarities. And we're spending so much time singling out our differences that we have no time to celebrate our commonality and work together. We're spending so much time trying to separate ourselves. And I think that's counterproductive in many, many cases.
Okay. Mr. Althauser.
We have had occasions where individuals with a specific cause have come to council, have asked for a resolution, and we have always jumped all over that and done so. We have celebrated any time that someone has approached council with an issue that might be specific to an affliction they have or a belief they have. But the reality is we can respond to what we're presented with. And I, you know, it's not fun what I'm about to say, and it's unfortunate. It's small town America. You have 7 council members that serve mostly to serve. They don't make money, a lot of money. They make very little money. They put, I wouldn't even want to calculate their per hour pay. There is only so much time we have. And I believe that every one of those council members and myself have our own belief or have our own things, ideas. And I will mention, to me, one is autism, that we celebrate, that we support, that we wholeheartedly back and do whatever we can in our private lives. I cannot think of a time ever when this council or this administration has been negative to anything like that. And I know all of the individuals well enough to know that they wouldn't be. So we'll continue to be so. If there are areas that we need to come to council, we have 24 regular meetings a year. I don't know, and I've been city council president for 3 terms. I don't know, I can probably name on one hand the number of times where someone has showed up to council unannounced just to ask us things. Folks, city council, I may regret this, but city council is your one public, regular scheduled meeting where you can address issues. Use it. Use it. Use it.
Ms. Davis?
I've agreed with Joel many times, but I really agree with him right now. I can remember in the 6 years or how many ever years I've been on council now, that we've lit the city building up blue for autism. We've had people come in for different social situations, and we've addressed those, and we've celebrated with them. It doesn't always get reported in the press. That's not on the press. It doesn't always get read by people, but these are things that I know everybody on that council does in their private lives also. I mean, you will see us with signs in our yards. We wear our blue shirts. We wear our hats. We're there with everybody. But if it's something you want council to address, please come to a meeting. There's time. Joel takes audience participation in the beginning and in the very end. And he's really, really great about that. So please come to council.
Thank you. Mr. Hall?
I look at things, you know, I hear people talk, and I hear some people say, well, I don't vote because my vote don't count. And they don't do nothing I say anyway. Well, you know what? Don't complain if you don't vote. You have a city council that'll listen to you. If you have something that you need to talk about, make sure you go to council and ask for a chance to speak, because they will listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Wren?
I'm going to reiterate what everybody else has said. Again, you know, we've had special things, requests and stuff come up at council, and we've always listened to them. In my personal life, I am always donating to anything and everything almost that people ask me for. And as Antwilla says, I have a grandson that is autistic. So I've always wore the blue for autism, and donated to other entities. And it would be nice if we did have people come to council, because there's many times that it's just us that are in there, or the department, some of the department heads. So we always welcome public participation, and we'll love to have more of it. So you're always welcome to come and bring something before us. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Hardin County Talks, our audience, and our sponsors, we'd like to thank all of the candidates who came tonight to allow the city, those persons here, to get to know you a little bit better. And the way we're going to end the forum tonight is to ask you the question to tell us why we should vote for you for the position you're running for. You have 1 minute, and we'll start with Mr. Athauser.
I just, first of all, greatly appreciate the opportunity for us to speak, no matter what format. I think that this event is very welcome, as far as for me, to try to get us the opportunity to get some word out. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate we couldn't have it in person. I'm very dedicated to my community, and I do my best to represent everyone, to provide an opportunity for council to work with the administration, for the administration to work with council. I take that seriously, and I think that's the best thing I have to offer, is that I'll put the time in to try to do a good job of communicating between those two bodies. And to me, that's my major role. So again, I appreciate Hardin County Talks, and I look forward to future events like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beazley?
Thank you, ma'am. I do also appreciate this forum. I think it would be wonderful if we could get more people to take an interest in participating, both on the candidate side and on the audience side. Hopefully they'll be able to see the live stream or participate with the recorded sessions and get some value out of this in making their selections. The people that you have seen tonight do care a great deal. This is my second go round on council, and I've never worked with a finer group that cares more about the city and its people, both inside the city government and the citizens that we serve. I'm proud to work with them, and I think that they are all doing the very best that they know to represent all of our citizens to the best of their ability. So I'm happy to be working with them, and I look forward to working with them in the coming term. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Davis?
Well, again, thank you for inviting us tonight. And I apologize again for being late. We came from a safety committee meeting to this event. As I've sat in the car and got creepier and creepier as the night's gone on, waiting for a kid to get out of something. But everybody on this panel cares, or they wouldn't have had their petition filled out. It's not a volunteer position, but it's pretty close to one. And if you didn't love it, you wouldn't do it, because there's a lot of time and sometimes there's a lot of headache, and we try our best. And it's a beautiful thing when we really get to accomplish something. I know it sounds crazy, but I got a whole 5 street lights put in last year, and I basically did cartwheels through my backyard because somebody got a light. I don't have one tonight, but someone got one. But I do love being on council and trying to help and really working towards a bigger, better city. I want my babies to come back. I want them to grow up, come back, and stay really close to me. So if that means we put extra effort into the downtown and we get that accomplished to bring our children back, and I know all the mamas watching this are thinking that same thing, we're bringing them back home, to make our city where they want to be, because that's really what we're doing. We're making a better city for our children.
Thank you. Mr. Hall?
I want to say thank you to the forum for inviting us. Maya, I appreciate you so much. Mike, for all the help you gave me. But one thing I'd like to mention before we go any further, I would like for us to say a big thank you to Miss Patty Reisner for the years she spent and what all she done for the city. I am so proud of our town. I enjoy serving on council. I think Patty was probably one of the finest ladies I ever worked with on council because I sat next to her, and there's been many nights we've just sat and talked. But we have a good council. We have some good city officials, and we need to say thank you to every one of them that spend their time to try to answer your problems. They try to be there when you need them. And we need to say a big God bless you to all those that serve in our community.
And Mrs. Wren.
I want to, first of all, thank you for holding this forum. I had a conflict, and at first I didn't think I was going to get to attend, and I am so glad that I did. I actually am not originally from Kenton. I moved here in 1973, and I've lived here ever since. I raised my children here. I've grown to love this community, and I am happy to be on council to serve this committee because, as Joel said, we get on that, we sign up to be voted into city council to serve, and we do serve. We all want to see our city grow. Kenton actually has a lot to offer. There's days that we don't think there's anything to do here, but all you have to do is look around and there is a lot to do. There are a lot of great people at work here. We're trying to make our city better, and hopefully for our children and our grandchildren to come back here to live after we're gone.
Thank you. Thank you. Maya, do you have anything you want to say tonight? Okay. I want to say a special thank you to Maya, because pretty much single-handedly she put this together for us tonight to be able to do this. So I thank you for all of your hard work. I appreciate you more than I can tell you. And we thank you all for being a part of this forum. Audience, these are your candidates in Kenton. If I could vote in Kenton, I would, but I live in Columbus. So this has been very informational and very, very informative, and a pleasure to be the moderator for all of you. Thank you all again. Thank you, Reverend Vanessa, for coming, joining them tonight. Thank you. Make sure I get everybody. Thank you, Mr. Hubble. Thank you. Some other people who helped, but thanks. Good to see you, Sarah. And thank everyone for being here. Thank you, audience. We appreciate all of you, and have a blessed evening. And I wish everyone the best on the election. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Kenton.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone. God
Good
bless.
night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.